Hello you incestual rednecks and welcome aboard USS Alabama. I have a lot of things to get through today. There's a lot of stuff that we need to speak about. But first off, I'm using the American, I think it's the American Collection camouflage, where you can alter premium camo skins and the free standard skins for American ships. I'm using this on the Alabama, of course. I kind of like it, although to be honest, I think in future I'm going to be sticking with the standard camouflage scheme for the Alabama. I just like the historical accuracy more than I like this, even though I do think this is pretty cool. But more importantly, let's get into the things we actually need to talk about today, because there is a lot to go through. First off, I really didn't want to have to bring this up here, but it seems that sometimes people just don't quite get the message when I'm abundantly clear about something to them. So I'm just going to put it up here because I know that the person in question is going to be watching this because they watch everything I do. Please stop constantly messaging me. Please stop trying to get me back into your fleet. I don't want to be there. I thought I explained this in the Minotaur video. I thought I very easily and very quickly explained why I don't want to stay in that fleet. I don't want to return. Please stop asking me. And please stop inviting me to divisions, because the specific person inviting me, and you know who you are, I don't like you. I really don't like you. You're not as good as you think you are. You're incredibly irritating, and you can't take a hint. Stop inviting me. Right, with that out of the way, and that didn't actually take very long, we're just gonna really quickly delete this Nuremberg and later be accused of kill stealing, so that's always fun. But moving on to the other thing I want to bring up today is the lack of uploading for, once every 2 days, like the original schedule was going to be. What I want to bring up there is it is really hot here. My room can go from 25 to 30 degrees in an instant at this point, and it is staying around that level even in the middle of the night. And what this means is that I haven't quite got it on right now because of course I'm recording audio, but typically I have several fans. And I've also got, a cough and a sneeze and a whatnot, but typically I have several fans on in the room at any given time, and at the moment I'm just not able to run with them when I'm doing recording, obviously, because it'll interrupt the microphone audio, and I really need them on almost all the time, otherwise it just gets too hot in here and I go crazy. So I haven't really been recording a lot of audio for these videos, hence why they haven't really been coming out. I am trying to get back onto that. It's cooled down a little bit now. We're not quite at the heights of 33 and 30 that I was at. It's now about 25-ish. It can get up to 30, but it's not so terrible. So I'm trying to, get back to doing it now, which is why I'm sitting here doing the Alabama video right now. Which I know isn't the one that I said I would be getting to, but I had a really nice game in the Alabama, and I really wanted to share it with you all, because it brings up a few things that I think people forget about the Alabama, and we're going to be going through those when they happen. But for now, I also want to mention, please stop complaining about radar. Please stop complaining, because complaining about radar is not going to make you better at dealing with it. Okay? I've told many people now, and I always see it. Complaints about radar, there's too much radar, radar's OP, nerf radar, make it so it can't go through ions, do this, do that. There is too much complaining about radar right now. You need to stop it, learn how to radar bait. Maybe I should make an entire video on how to radar bait. Sounds like a good idea. No one apparently knows how to do it. But you need to stop complaining, learn how to radar bait, and then actively counter the radar, because complaining isn't helping you. Complaining is only getting you killed by the radar. If you try and learn how to fight against the radar, then you're going to be doing a lot better. Also, apologies to the Mogami in chat as well. I'm being a bit of a dickhead here. I had had a bit of a drink at the time I was recording this video, and it was pretty late at night, so at least I think it was late at night. To be honest, I recorded this video quite a while back, but I'm pretty sure it was late at night. But yeah, apologies to that Mogami. I was a bit of an asshole to him. But regardless, back to what we were talking about, you need to learn to counter radar. You can't just complain about it. That's not going to help you. If you want to nullify the effects of radar, do what I did. Spend some time deliberately teaching yourself how to radar bait. And that's what's most important. And God, I feel like a massive dickhead talking to the Mogami like that. He does actually end up going into the base and countering the DD, but it took him a while, so I was getting really pissed off. But anyhow, we're about to engage this Cleveland. This brings up an interesting point about the Alabama. I often hear Alabama cited as a ship that's just horribly inaccurate. And I really don't think that's the case. I mean, first off, watch this. Yep, that is a triple Citadel deletion, full health to nothing Cleveland. And I really don't find very often that the Alabama is too inaccurate. I think what a lot of people forget is that the Alabama's not as accurate as the North Carolina. It isn't. We can be abundantly clear about that. It's not as accurate as the North Carolina. But the North Carolina has absolutely mutant accuracy for a Tier 8. It's like the Tier 8 Yamato. So, not being as accurate as the North Carolina doesn't mean you're inaccurate. You're still really accurate. And the Alabama still has really nice accuracy. It's just that you're not as accurate as the North Carolina, so a lot of people slam it and call it an inaccurate piece of shit. Massachusetts is an inaccurate piece of shit. That's not even as accurate as the Alabama. But the Alabama itself is perfectly fine on accuracy, and I don't think people need to make such a big deal out of it, because honestly, in my experience, it's more than usable, and it's certainly a lot better for me than a lot of the battleships I have actually played around this tier. But more importantly, that Colorado is obviously AFK, so I'm trying to focus my fire on the North Carolina, but he is firing high explosive, so I end up ignoring him for a little while, and the simple reason is because he's not a threat. You know, firing high explosive means I can afford to ignore him, because he's not going to do anything. He's not going to kill me, for sure. So I can afford to just sit there, farm a little bit of damage on the Colorado, and bring some points back for the team, because we were at basically a point stalemate, and now we're back ahead. So now I am switching my objective to the North Carolina. He's showing a decent amount of broadside, so I'm thinking maybe a Citadel. But at ranges like this, Alabama can get a little bit inaccurate. You know, you're talking at mid to long range here, so you're not expecting gold, but we are still getting some solid hits and doing some solid damage. And the enemy team is largely positioned around the islands where the sea point would typically be, which is absolutely brilliant for us. It means they don't have a lot of shots on us, and we can pretty much play with immunity against this NC right now. And this really does bring in the point that I was thinking about. Here I am looking at the team scores for a second. It really does bring up what I was thinking about when I was sitting down to do this audio just a second ago. The North Carolina is not objectively superior. It really isn't. At least not to the way some people say it is. You know, you'll hear some people say the Alabama is completely uncompetitive with the NC. It's not. Alabama's a different type of competitive. It has different advantages. You know, the torpedo belt. Sorry, I'm just going to yawn in the middle of a video. That's professional. I've been awake for fucking ages. Cut me a break. Cut me some slack. I knew what I meant. But no, it is a case of, in fact, there's a Citadel. The Alabama's got different advantages to the NC. It's a bit slower, it's more maneuverable, better torpedo belt, worse accuracy. You know, it's got different advantages, but none of it makes it any less competitive, which is what a lot of people will tell you, and those people are bullshitting you. Alabama is still absolutely brilliant. And, you know, it's... Granted, this NC isn't exactly a genius, and to be honest, if we're talking about player skill levels, I'm miles and miles above him. But nonetheless, you know, the fact that I was able to do that to an NC and he couldn't really do anything back kind of proves my point to a certain degree. Anyhow, we've done some more damage to the NC now, but he is completely unspotted, so I'm going to engage the Amagi. Now, Amagi's a bit of a pain in the arse to engage because Citadels don't come easily against Amagi. I mean, you're looking at his health pool right now. I could probably have one-shotted him if this was a Citadel hit, but, you know, we aim for just beneath the forward guns. I'm not sure exactly if that is where the Citadel is on the Amagi, but, whatever, we didn't find it, and we did good damage, though. We did good damage, so that's absolutely fine. And here I'm trying to slow down while I turn to force the Amagi to hit the bow section, which is what the Amagi ended up doing, rather than hitting the Citadel, which he would have penetrated from that angle, and it probably would have killed me. So there's a bit of advice for you if you're taking that type of fire. Just slow down while you turn, and you can force them to hit your bow section, which they will just overpen. Which is brilliant. It kept me alive, and that's absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not going to hit the Amagi very heavily there. He has angled away. Oh, damn. I'm not being professional today. You can probably tell. But I'm not too worried about the Amagi now. He's in a position where he can't really damage me very much. And I'm more interested in engaging the cruisers down here. But this game is wrapping up quite nicely, and you can see 7 citadels. The Alabama's got that ability. You can score these citadels in the Alabama. It's fantastic, but you just won't get them with the same frequency as the North Carolina, and I think that's what a lot of people, write off the Alabama for, saying, oh, you don't get as many citadels as the NC, you're not as accurate as the NC. Yeah, well, nothing is as accurate as the NC at Tier 8. The NC is ridiculous. Okay, you're never going to get that. Certainly not from an American at Tier 8. You're never going to get that NC level of accuracy. But you can get good levels of accuracy, which is what the Alabama gives you. So people need to just shut the fuck up about it for a minute and realise that comparing the Alabama to the NC, I do realise they're directly comparable because they're equal tiers. But comparing the accuracy specifically to the NC, if you're coming into that comparison expecting the Alabama to be on the same level as the North Carolina, you're being a bit of an idiot, because the Alabama's never advertised itself as an accuracy beast on the same level as the North Carolina. It's just not. And we are going to see some banter as well. I say banter. Basically some full-on rage from the NC in a minute, and I am going to stoke the flames with that because, once again, I was fucking tired and I'd had a couple drinks. I don't excuse my stoking of said flames, but well, this is North Carolina was a bit of a dickhead, so I certainly don't feel criminally bad about that. There he is in chat. Fuck you, Alabama. I'm just going to say thanks, babe. But no, he's upset. He thinks I stole the Cleveland and the Nuremberg. Never mind that I got a devastating strike on the Nuremberg, which I'm pretty sure means you had to do a lot of the damage. No, it was a kill steal. So that's where we are on that one. But Alabama's guns are certainly fantastic, and I know this isn't the ship you wanted to see in this video, or maybe it was, but it's not the one I said I was going to do. And that's simply because the Abruzzi replay kind of fucked up, so I can't actually make a video out of that one. Which is annoying, because now I have to replay the Abruzzi to get another game, and I fucking hate the Abruzzi. However, the Bliskovica, the replay for that one works. It's just not the most amazing game. I might redo the Bliskovica game, I might not. I suppose we'll have to see where that one goes, but there are a lot of games as well that I think I've been having lately in the Saint Louis that I might be able to turn into a video. That's the Tier 9 French cruiser, and I'm not opposed to trying to turn that one into a video. The Saint Louis is definitely a ship that I think is really what the French line should have been in general. The French line up until Tier 8 is kind of just a bit disappointing. I think anyone who's played it can agree with that. The Algerie is the first decent one, but it's still not all that great. And, the Charles Martel really does bring the French line into the meta, and I think it makes the French particularly powerful. The Saint Louis has its, little quirks that I don't like, but I do think, on the face of it, that it is an extremely good Tier 9 cruiser. But anyhow, we just pulled in a Confederate award there after a high caliber on the Cleveland, which is fantastic, but this game is coming to an end. So final thoughts on the Alabama. Really, really good. If you like the American battleships, definitely pick it up. I wouldn't recommend Massachusetts. She's not really a very good commander trainer for the Americans, and not very emblematic of what you can experience from the Americans. She's very secondary built. She's a bit of a gimmick ship, which is okay. I'm not opposed to gimmick ships, but I would recommend Alabama over the Massachusetts if you want a ship that's very representative of what you can experience from the rest of the American battleship line. And that really is what Alabama brings to the table in a way that none of the other American premium battleships really do. And to be honest, I don't think there are that many other American premium battleships, but well, I suppose there's Texas and Arizona, which are alright, but you only really give a shit about the Tier 8s, and the Massachusetts doesn't represent the Americans in quite the same way. Okay, so while I can still tolerate having my fan turned off, let's go over the results. That's 702,000 credits, 6,000 XP and 300 free XP. We're looking at a Confederate award, 2 double strikes, that's for the Nuremberg and the Cleveland. A First Blood, again for the Nuremberg, and a High Caliber award as well. We're looking at 158,000 damage and 4 ships destroyed. Now, the Alabama is fantastic. I can definitely recommend it. It's not a North Carolina, but as long as you go into the Alabama knowing that, as long as you don't go into there expecting North Carolina or a North Carolina clone, then you'll probably be okay. It does play in a very similar way, but there are notable differences that are going to make the experience a fairly different one to you. So if you also have a North Carolina, I can also recommend this, because you're not just buying yourself a carbon copy like you were with the original Hipper and Prinz Eugen, before obviously those got changed. Anyhow, I do hope you enjoyed this Alabama look and Alabama review type thing, although I did have a lot of other things to say, so I'm not sure you can really call this a proper review. But we will be trying our best to get, well, I will be trying my best, I don't know why I said we, to get back to one upload every 2 days. No promises, it is extremely hot here, so that is a very difficult thing for me to manage, but I am going to try my best, and I'll see you in the next video.